Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your neighbor here. Welcome down to the Nook, and today we're going to talk Glenturret, as I think you can tell. I've got three of the bottles up here, and I originally sat down and thought, I want to talk to you guys a bit about age and whiskey. I've talked a bit about value, and I thought, let's get into some age because we clearly have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. So, can I taste 3 years difference? But then as I dug more into what's in this bottle, there's different casking. It's 50.8 versus 46. And I thought, let's just talk maybe casking. I don't know. Maybe it won't be a topic today, and a little bit more about these particular whiskeys. Now, what's challenging is Glenturret definitely does like age batches and makes not a point, but maybe a point of saying like this year's release has this going on and next year's release will be quite different. So specifically, I'm going to talk about Glenturret 12, but the 2022 release, because it's what I have. And this is Glenturret 15, but it's the 2023 release. So if you want to sip along or pour something, heavily sherried, 2023, this wants to be the focus because I've talked to you about the 12 year, but I'm going to have to taste them in this order, I think, just to try to do it justice. Well, thanks for coming back. As I said, let's talk Glenturret a little bit. They showed up here a couple of years ago, and now they're fairly regular on the shelf, and they're a little bit more expensive. I can't really call them a value, but they haven't run away on price. These two over here, but this one is actually fairly costly. Actually, it's quite expensive. But these, I've seen them on sale. They play in that $70 to $80 range. When I go looking for them, have I seen them over 100? Yes. Would I buy them at that price? No. So let's start with this Glenturret 12. Maybe it'll be quicker on this because I have talked to you about this. But what beautiful bottles. I will say these bottles. I made a mistake the first time I talked to you about them. They were bought by Elite Crystal, but these are just glass bottles. But I just think, these are decanters. I mean, they're really nice looking. I love it. And I like a little bit that it says, hey, we're the oldest working distillery, 1763. Now, I don't think it was continuous from 1763, but they certainly have been around making single malt. And coming back to the details of the 12-year-old, so we'll get into that whiskey first. So, this whiskey, and it was fun because I looking at the writing and their website, it doesn't give as much away as I'd like. And then I found James, the international ambassador for Glenturret, and he shares a little bit more. And he says, in here, we've got American and European oaks seasoned with sherries. We've got Oloroso and PX in here. And it's natural color non-chill. Now, they don't say that on the bottles, but they say it on the boxes. And they use it all their meta tags for all of their website pages, which is interesting. I don't know why they don't just write it a little bit more. But natural color non-chill, 46%, mix of sherries and mix of oaks in the cask. I appreciate this one. It does, to me, I thought it had a little more ex-bourbon because I thought, I'm getting a little sweet, sweet sugars, sweet caramels, sweet vanillas. But certainly the sherry is right up there. We've got a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of, stewed cherries. That kind of like, you got, I've got obviously some sherry. A natural color, there's a ton of sherry because you can just see it in this. Like, it's, their seasoning, maybe they leave a little bit of that rinsed sherry in there. But it's sweet and it also nutty. Let's try this one on the palate. Sacha. I enjoy this one. It's got a little bit of spicing. It's got a little bit of ginger and cinnamon and it's perky. It also has a richness to it. It coats well. It's just tasty. It's a tasty Scotch. It's got a nice balance of those sweet sugars and fruitiness with a little bit of, feels like, okay, I've got a little bit darker sherry, got a little bit of casking, got a little bit of husk, a little bit of body. I would say it's actually tasty and reasonably balanced. Now it's got a little bit of it's not watery, but because I said it's rich and thick and it's not watery, but it's got something on the edges that I do find, whether it's a bitterness or whatnot, that keeps me from just runaway loving it, but I really do enjoy it. I compared it, I think, with you guys to Glendronach 12, and I think in that one I preferred the Glendronach, but this one, in that direct comparison, had a lot more lighter toffees, American oaks, but there is some spicing from European oaks, and there's lots of sherry. Well, the main conversation today is this, the Glenturret 15. This is the 2023 release. Again, on their website, although you can still find a page for the 2023 release, they don't put out enough information on there, if I may. They talk a little bit about the tasting notes and that it's, a really interesting balance of cask, but they don't even talk about the cask. But then I did find that Whiskey Ambassador James, totally different person from my good friend James, who has shared this bottle with me. But the Whiskey Ambassador, actually went into the casking, talked about how it's a mix of Oloroso, ex-Oloroso, and like he says, Oloroso seasoned casks, refill casks, so refill of whatever they have. I don't know, it didn't say. And then Amontillado sherry. And I don't know that sherry well enough. I mean, I've read about it and I understand how it's made and where it plays, but I just don't know it enough. And I've seen a lot of whiskeys. So this 2023 release, 50.8%, has that unique casking. And the ambassador mentions how in this release, this is the only one that has those Amontillado sherry casks in it. So coming off the 12, cleared the palate, talked a bit. This is rested, the 15 on the nose. And this is all that dark sherry. It's all that dark. It almost pushes into a sweet soured note. I get a little bit of sour cherry. And I get, oh boy, all kinds of, like a little bit more darkness, a little bit like dark chocolates, and thicker, like whereas this, when I first come to it, oh boy, and now it's kind of, it's got a bit of cake in it. It's a nice general, like full, but many sherry influenced nose. Don't want to lead you wrong. Lots of sherry in here, but this is that old sherry, that dark sherry, which is why I want to talk to you about age, because at first when I was just tasting it, I wasn't digging into the background. I'm like, boy, I get a richness off this. I get a darker, I definitely get more husk oak, a little bit funk, a little bit of musty. But now I get a sense that it's probably their choice of casking. Oh, it is so rich on the nose. It's just sticky toffee pudding, but with a thick sherry fruit glaze over it. Not just the sweet sugars. Wow. Okay, gotta try this one on the palate. Hope you got something good in your glass. Gotcha. So this is bolder, stronger. It's 50.8 instead of 46, but it is fuller on the palate. It has some spicing, some peppering, black pepper even. It's got some kick. It continues to be in that unsweetened cocoa, light coffees, chocolates, fig, prune, raisin, walnut, little bit of leather, conditioned leather, drying on the palate. On the back, on the longer finish, it starts to dry out and give me a little bit of nice oaks. So the reason why I thought maybe this was going to be a conversation about age was because I get age notes on this. And at some point, I'm going to have to try to articulate how I experience age in whiskey. Because while I've had non-age stamp young whiskeys that are exceptional, really good, there's something about older whiskeys, and 15 isn't that old, but 24, 30-year-old that has a little bit of I got to get the chemistry behind it to try to explain to you that it's tough to get that, I feel, in younger. You just can't rapid age. Now you can have exceptionally excellent young whiskeys. We've already talked about that. Anyways, coming back here, I can't remember what I gave this, and I should have looked that up. I really like this, and it's probably going to go. I've been keeping it around so I could talk to you about the 15, and now it'll probably just be a delightful, nice end of the week pour, and it'll go away because I enjoy it. And as I said, I would pay $80 for that, and for me, I'm really cheap. It's a good Scotch. It's got to sit around a 4-star. Like, it's really good. This 15. Now, my problem here is when I talk value, I know, James, this cost you a fair amount, and that's why I need to review it and give it back before I keep drinking it, because I really like this. My palate right now is drawn toward this older, thicker, leathered fig sherries. That drier, not so sweet. This is sweeter. This has some PX. I don't, if this has PX, well, just that in that refill mix, it's not coming off nearly as sugared. It's got lots of just richness. Now, they talk about toffee being a note, but for me, it would be a sponge toffee cake. It wouldn't be a candied toffee like that. It's something else, and I enjoy this. This is 4.25, 4.5. I'm really liking this, James. Now, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because my palate right now for over a year has been craving that thicker sherries, and this delivers. If you guys have the Glenturret 2023, what's the 2024 like in comparison? Some comments, because other people drop in and maybe they're looking for that, and that's not this. So maybe they'll catch a good recommendation in the comments. Thank you for joining me here. I'm going to enjoy this while I edit for you guys. Have a great weekend.